A modern office chair holds your body for roughly 2,000 hours every single year. Your medieval ancestor, working under a blazing sun with primitive tools, spent less than half of that time doing actual labor. Let that sink in. You wake up at the command of a digital alarm, rush through soul-crushing traffic, and sit under flickering fluorescent lights until a clock tells you it is safe to go home. We assume this rigid structure is the natural evolution of human progress, but this assumption is completely wrong. Not because humans became more ambitious, not because we suddenly craved discipline, but because a highly coordinated, century-long systemic trap completely rewrote human psychology. Think about it. You are fragile. You are entirely dependent on a weekly paycheck to buy food you don't know how to grow. Without your badge swipe, you have no recognized place in the modern world. To understand how we got locked in this invisible cage, we must uncover three staggering secrets. How the average medieval peasant secured months of mandatory rest that would make modern corporate executives panic. The bizarre, biologically hardwired nightly ritual called segmented sleep that kept our ancestors thriving in the pitch black and that the human body may still remember. And finally, the coordinated shift that systematically forced self-sufficient families off their land and into the very first factories. Each layer reveals a deeper truth, and the final revelation changes everything you believe about human freedom. Welcome back. Here, we dissect the hidden forces that shape our everyday reality. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on a time before the clock ruled our souls. The central question is simple yet profound. How did humanity occupy their minds and survive their days before the modern 9-to-5 even existed? The answer isn't a single historical event. It's a complex, layered tapestry of seasonal rhythms, biological shifts, and forced industrial transitions. In her landmark historical analysis, The Overworked American, Boston College sociologist Juliet Schor argued that pre-industrial work was fundamentally different. Before the Industrial Revolution, the concept of a 40-hour workweek simply did not exist. Labor was built around task orientation, not time orientation. The human brain was never wired to measure life in microscopic increments of minutes and seconds. Let's peel back these layers one by one to see how we went from masters of our own time to prisoners of the clock. Let's dismantle the first myth that our ancestors worked from dawn till dusk, exhausting themselves every single day. While planting and harvest seasons required intense labor, the rest of the year was surprisingly relaxed. During winter and the slow heat of midsummer, agricultural work came to a near standstill. The calendar was packed with official church holidays, local festivals, and seasonal celebrations that completely halted productive work. In medieval England, some estimates suggest peasant laborers enjoyed up to 150 days of rest each year, a figure historians still debate, but one that shatters the idea of ceaseless toil. The church enforced many of these holidays strictly, stopping labor for feasting, resting, and socializing. A typical workday wasn't a continuous sprint. It was interrupted by long breaks for breakfast, a heavy midday dinner, an afternoon nap, and evening drinks. Labor was slow, self-directed, and social, and if a peasant finished their designated tasks for the day, they simply stopped. There was no manager demanding they look busy. Now, here's where it gets genuinely bizarre, because the way they slept was just as different as the way they worked. This brings us to our second mystery, a phenomenon so thoroughly erased from modern life that most people alive today have never heard of it. In his research, historian Roger Eckerch analyzed thousands of historical documents, diaries, court records, literature, and surfaced a forgotten human behavior, segmented sleep. Before electric light bulbs, many pre-industrial Europeans did not sleep in one continuous 8-hour block. Instead, accounts describe two distinct phases, divided by a quiet wakefulness in the middle of the night. People fell asleep around dusk, slept for roughly 4 hours, and naturally woke around midnight. This wasn't insomnia. Historical sources describe it as a calm, unremarkable part of the night. During this waking window, the house was quiet. Diaries and letters describe people using this time to read by candlelight, pray, talk quietly with their partners, or visit neighbors who were also awake. Some researchers have proposed that this midnight pause may be tied to natural shifts in prolactin, a hormone associated with calm and relaxation, though this is an active area of study rather than settled fact. After this quiet interlude, people would drift back into their second sleep until dawn. 2 sleeps a night, no alarm, no guilt. It sounds almost impossible now because it was engineered out of us. So how did we lose all of this? This natural existence had one massive vulnerability: the ruling class. Wealthy landowners realized that as long as peasants could feed themselves from shared common land and sleep whenever they pleased, they could never be forced into high-output labor. Self-sufficiency had to be systematically dismantled. Enter the Enclosure Acts. Between the 18th and 19th centuries, the British Parliament passed thousands of laws privatizing common lands that communities had shared for generations. Banned from hunting in forests, grazing animals on meadows, or growing crops, the safety net that had sustained human life for 1,000 years vanished. The effect was severe. Entire populations lost the ability to live off the land. If you cannot grow your own food, you have only one choice to survive: sell your labor for an hourly wage. Families were funneled into industrial cities where factories awaited their desperate labor. Inside these early factories, human biology was worn down. Factory owners introduced rigid time clocks, levied heavy fines for being a single minute late, and used artificial lighting to blur the line between day and night. That 2-stage sleep pattern compressed into a single black to maximize factory output. Human beings were reshaped into biological cogs, forced to match the unyielding speed of the machine. We traded seasonal freedom and a 2-part night for the rigid cage of a single clock, and most of us never even knew there was a trade. Here's the strange part. You can't go back to medieval farming, and nobody's asking you to, but knowing this history changes something. That 3 a.m. wake-up you've been calling insomnia, it might be older than you think. That exhaustion from just an 8-hour day, it's not weakness, it's a structure your body was never built for. Was the trade necessary progress, or did we quietly sacrifice a piece of our humanity to build it? Tell me in the comments which fact hit you hardest, and if this made you see your own daily grind differently, hit subscribe, because next time we're uncovering another hidden psychological trap history left behind. That video is on screen right now.